didn't walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. Couldn't do it.
Up for sound bites. This is awesome.
Well, good day, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, Yom Tov, and welcome back to Anti-Religious Scripture Study with Karen B. and Just Jack for our late show.
That's right. Yeah, as I said in the last episode, it's really difficult to, when I was translating Genesis, as I translated each chapter, more and more of the future chapters were being translated, because I would just look for that same contextual word and replace it. When we started back over with Exodus, I had to start all over again. So it's almost as if, it's the first time translating. I have never translated anything in Exodus up to this point, except for a few key verses that were really important for me to investigate. especially about the 10 words, 10 commandments situation. And I did some translating throughout the week. I stayed up till really late last night, got up early to this morning, and I still didn't get done translating it until 4 o'clock in the afternoon with only 25 verses. So if people think that this is something that like I just click a button and it's all translated, that it's not so. It's really a conscious effort on my part to make sure that I'm not taking any shortcuts. I'm actually looking through and trying to find the right translations. Do I get it 100% all the time? Nope, because sometimes if I don't catch it right in the context, it'll be the wrong translation. So context is very important, and that's good to know for a lot of things.
Context is extremely important, especially when you're talking about stuff that's in the Bible. People love to cherry pick out of the Bible. And a lot
there's
of times,
groups.
The context
my
is
types
different.
of groups say a lot of times my group says it's like soundbite theology, right? So they take like a little, half a verse and they'll make a whole doctrine out of it. And it happens all the time. So I'm going to give a disclaimer just to get that done and over with. Just Jack's disclaimer to the religious. If you believe it's wrong to study scripture outside of your religion or denomination, if you believe your religion's leaders or church fathers are incapable of having inherited anti-scriptural traditions of men, if you've already made up your mind about scripture, including the scripture shouldn't be studied at all, then the stream is not for you. To others, if you're open-minded to others' opinions, if you haven't made up your mind about scripture, if you've been turned off to religion but believe there's truth in scripture that may have been changed or hidden by religion, if you live according to scripture and like to dig in and discover more, then the stream is for you. We are looking at scripture in the original language using concordances or dictionaries for root words, as well as context. From a non-religion perspective, we will as well have life experience discussion. We are not here to argue with others about theology or doctrine by the traditions of men, including Catholicism, Christianity, or Judaism. We will be discussing the importance of origins and show how religions contradict the scriptures. There we go.
All right, right on.
And yeah, the soundbite theology, or the process of like picking and choosing what you choose to be true about scriptures and not. There are people who are fully into believing that we should follow the scriptures from the beginning to the end, the Torah observant community that look at it. And then when they see things like the Rakia, or that the earth is set on its foundations, things about the earth being flat and stationary, they will say, well, that's not literal. But yet in the rest of the 7-day creation, that's literal, except for the firmament, right? So they got to do that, They got to cherry pick even in people that are allegedly open-minded to read what Scripture says.
Yeah. That's
it's a problem.
Silly. Yeah, it's for sure. I think it's
all
all
right,
about coming to a good understanding of it rather than picking and choosing from it.
Totally.
Okay.
You want to go back and see where we were?
Yes, I would like to do a recap of chapter 1 of Exodus because it has been a couple of weeks.
Sure thing.
So it goes over the children of Israel who came to Mitzrayim, also known as Egypt, with Yaakov.
Correct.
And talks about their households. And Yosef, and this is where it's going back between the name Yosef and Israel, because isn't Yosef's name changed?
No, Yaakov
Which one
and Israel.
Okay, Yaakov and Israel. Okay, I
Yeah.
knew that there was one of them.
Yeah, and it does do that. It does go back and forth between Yaakov and Israel often. And I think it really depends on right there, it says Israel and Yaakov all in the same verse.
Yeah.
Right. So the children of Israel, that's Yaakov as a group of people, where they came to Mitzrayim with Yaakov as the individual, Yaakov. So it can be confusing if you don't know the context, right? But since we've read through it to where he had his name changed from Yaakov to Israel, then we can get a context of what Israel is. But even further still, as we're going to read future into Exodus, we're going to find out that Yisrael no longer pertains to those who are descendants of Yaakov, but those specifically who join themselves to Yah, rather than to a man, you join yourself to the Creator. And that's what is called Yisrael at that point.
All right.
So, yeah, we were reading in Exodus 1. We're reading all about, America. Sorry. Rome. No, Greek. Yeah. The Greek. No, Persian. No, Egypt. It's all the same.
Yeah, exactly. So it also talked about basically, let's see here. Slave masters over them to afflict them.
Yep. So, like, there was a king who got into power due to Yosef, like, preserving the food. And then when he passed on, another Pharaoh rose up and he's like, well, I don't have anything to do with these children of Israel. So he made them slaves because he saw that they were overpopulating. And he said to the midwives, like, you need to, like, get rid of the male children. And they're like, oh, these Hebrew women, they have babies way too fast. Before we even get there, the babies are already out.
Right, that's right.
Couldn't throw them out, yeah. So it says Elohim blessed the good wives, so.
And it came to be that the midwives feared Elohim, and he provided households for them. Throw every son who is born into the river, and keep alive every daughter. So that's how that ends.
Yes, and again, if you haven't watched it, please watch Patterns of Evidence, the Exodus. There's some interesting archaeological finds that very much parallel this narrative. So, but of course, the dates are wrong, right? It's always about the dates being wrong.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so Exodus 2, chapter 2. And a man of the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi. And
now, is this brother and sister? No, this is the tribe of Levi. So multiple families have come out of Levi. That's why, it's kind of good to pay attention to the genealogies and stuff so you can see the multiplicities that come out of each of those. But we know that's a little bit dry and a little bit tedious. This one begot that one, begot this one. So,
right.
But yeah, Levi is a multitude of people at this point. So.
All right. And the woman conceived and bore a son. And she saw that he was a lovely child, and she hid him 3 months.
She was a lovely child.
And when she could hide him no longer, she took an ark of wicker for him, and coated it with tar and pitch, and put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds by the edge of the river. Okay,
so, yeah, this river, in Hebrew, river is Nahar, but this river, Yair, is from an Egyptian word for river. So it's like, that's, if you know anything about the story, Moses is the one that's recording the Torah, and so he may have remembered that they called it the Yair instead of the Nar. So he's like slipping back into his Egyptian language when he's writing this record.
Interesting. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her young women were walking by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her female servant to get it.
Now, these are young women, so these are Na'ar, as in teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, when it's talking about young women, it's like not even quite an adult yet. And the just for the sake of pointing it out, the Scriptures version still transliterates to Pharaoh, but it's actually if you go with the vowel pointings, it's Paro, instead of Pharaoh. But yeah,
Okay. Does that? What
it means nothing.
Okay.
It means nothing.
Just okay.
Yeah, it's just something that, some people may find interesting. That's all.
Okay.
I know this is supposed to be mine and your conversation, but just in case people are listening.
That's cool. And opened it and saw the child, and see the baby wept. So she had compassion on him and said, "This is one of the children of the Hebrews."
Yeah, and we've run into these terms before. The weeping is the rolling, and in this case, the rolling of the tears.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hebrew is actually ivri, which means those who cross over.
And his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." And the young woman went and called the child's mother.
Now, when it talks about a nurse, it's not talking about like doctors and nurses. Nurse as in nursing, as in
Right.
breastfeeding. So
As in a wet nurse.
yeah, exactly. See explanatory notes for maiden. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just an able-bodied female. I have it as the default right there, able-bodied. That means that able-bodied means that she's at an age where she's able to produce. Okay. Yeah, like that.
And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me, then I shall pay your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him.
Now, this child is his sister's mother. In other words, it's his actual mother.
Wait, what?
So Moses' mother is his nurse. And she's getting paid to breastfeed her own child.
Really?
Yes.
How come nobody ever says that in the story of Moses? Like, I don't ever remember hearing that detail.
They do, but it's so glossed over. Unless you know the background, you don't understand what's really going on. Right? Because they don't actually say, okay, here's Moses' mother. He's hiding her. Oh, Moses' mother's coming back to feed him. Like, you can get really lost. I've seen those, movies, and it's like, okay, so that's supposed to be his mom, But, yeah, so his sister's following Moshe down the water. And then when she's there, now remember, the Egyptians think that the Hebrews at this point are lower than them, like lower class, lower citizens, like not the same type of people.
Mm-hmm.
So she may think that her milk will not work with that baby. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we can't have an Egyptian feeding a Hebrew baby milk because something might go wrong,
Oh, that's okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's going on here.
All right, okay. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son, and she called his name Moshe, saying, "Because I have drawn him out of the water."
Now, this grow is like he was magnified. It's not just growing, but he was made great, like in his growing. Also, yeah, if you see the Moshe down there in the translation in the middle, and it says, "Because from the water, Moshe eat who?" Okay, so that Moshe is that drawing or touching from the water. So that's where it comes Moshe. Moshe.
All right.
So he's the drawing, if you will. I have a friend of mine whose name is Andrew, and since Moshe means Drew, I call him the Moshe, which means and Drew. Backwards. Backwards translation.
All right. And in those days it came to be, when Moshe was grown, that he went out to his brothers and looked at their burdens, and he saw a Mitzrian striking a Hebrew, one of his brothers.
And this striking is of the palm or crushing. So
it was a physical fight.
Yeah, he's crushing him, yeah.
So he turned this way and that way, and when he saw no one, he struck the Mitzrian and hid him in the sand. And he went out the second day and saw 2 Hebrew men fighting. And he said to the one who did the wrong, "Why do you strike your neighbor?"
Okay, so go back for a second.
Okay.
This one is different than the one that was crushing. This one is they're sparking off, right? So they're getting all fired up.
Okay.
It's spark and blossom. So it's different than the crushing. And he's saying, why are you going to crush your neighbor? Even though they were just, they were just verbally fighting.
Mm-hmm. And he said, "Who made you a head and a judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Mitzrian?" And Moshe feared and said, "Truly, the matter is known."
And this is not, it says a head and a judge is not a head, it's a prince. It's Tsar. Like the Russians, Tsar comes from this word.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Tsar as in a prince, not a head. I don't know why they translated it head.
Okay. And Pharaoh heard of this matter, and he sought to kill Moshe, but Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well.
He sought to stomp Moshe, trample him and kill him.
Right. And the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water the father's flock.
Okay, so Midian, I kind of like put a little bit of stuff in there, so much so that it's cut off. I don't know if you can spread that that window out. Yep. There we go. So Midian is a descendant of Abraham, and Midian is also the descendants who later we call Arabians or Arabia or Saudi Arabia, Arabians.
Uh-huh.
So they all came from this family of Midians that came from Abraham. When I was growing up in Sunday school, because I used to do that, I thought that the priest of Midian was a priest of some other kind of deity other than the creator, but not so. He's a direct descendant of Abraham. He's living in the area that later will be the area where Moshe brings the people to the mountain of Elohim. So this priest of Midian, is actually worshiping Yehovah in the wilderness. And this is just by looking at the history and the area and everything else like this. But I was always thinking that he was a priest of some other deity, but not so.
Huh.
Because I thought only the Israelites believed in the creator. Right?
Right.
That narrative. So.
Right, okay. But the shepherds came and drove them away, and Moshe stood up and came to their rescue and watered their flock.
All right, so the daughters were getting water at the well. A bunch of scumbag shepherds came around and was like, get out of here, it's our water. And then Moshe stood up for them.
Okay.
And that rescue is the same word that is the root of the word for the name of the guy in the first century that they call Jesus now. Yeshua.
Mm-hmm.
So he Yeshua'd them.
Okay.
He saved them.
And they came to Raywell, their father, and he said, "How is it that you have come so soon today?"
Right. So Raywell is his actual name, but later you won't see Raywell show up. You'll only see Yitro or Jethro in King James Version.
Okay.
So Raywell is a friend to Elohim. Like he had it in tight with the creator.
Okay. And they said, "A Mitzrayim rescued us from the hand of the shepherds, and he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock." And he said to his daughters, "And where is he? Why did you leave the man? Call him and let him eat bread."
Yeah, he saved your butt.
Yeah.
Why aren't you taking care of him?
Right, right. And Moshe agreed to dwell with the man, and he gave Zipporah his daughter to Moshe. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom. Gershom?
Gershom. Yep.
Gershom, for he said, I have become a sojourner in a foreign land.
So a ger, which is kind of weird because you kind of throaty it a little bit. A ger is someone who is dwelling in the land, but he doesn't live there. He's a sojourner.
Okay.
We actually had this word back in Genesis, but yeah, it came back up for his name because, he's not someone that's,
Well, it says cast out.
Yeah, because that's the root definition. So like you don't dwell there, you're someone who's cast out in the wilderness. You're kind of like a nomad, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So a nomad would be a good understanding of it if you know what a nomad is. So
Right.
But the root of it is to not dwell, to dwell but not occupy.
Right.
So you don't put down roots.
Okay. And it came to be after these many days that the sovereign of Mitzrayim died, and the children of Israel groaned because of the slavery, and they cried out, and their cry came up to Elohim because of the slavery.
Now see, Pharaoh is speaking directly of the sovereign of Egypt or Mitzrayim, but here they're actually saying sovereign of Mitzrayim, not with the title of Pharaoh. So you can see how it goes back and forth between an Egyptian style language and a Hebrew style language.
Yeah, okay. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Yitzhak, and with Yaakov. And Elohim looked at the children of Israel, and Elohim knew.
Works for me.
So the children of Elohim were complaining about because they had become slaves.
Yeah. And remember how it all started. It all started as, oh, we're running out of food. Let me give you the rest of our crops. Oh, we're running out of food. Let me give you my animals. Oh, we're running out of food. Let me give you our property. Oh, I'm running out of food. Let me give you ourself.
Right.
Right. And he's like, okay, you can be free, but a portion of your income that has to go to me. And you can live in the places that I'm going to build called cities. And then that way you're spending your money in town. Money's going to me. And then any money that you work, a chunk of that goes to me. Right.
Right.
That system is what we're dealing with today.
Exactly. That is what blew my mind about the first chapter of Exodus that we read. Because I was like, man, the same system that we are subject to today, it truly is out of Babylon.
Yeah. Babylon, and then extension to Egypt, and Egypt to Persia, Persia to Greek, Greek to Roman, and Roman to American. So, it's that system. So, nothing new under the sun, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'm going to jump on chat because I haven't been watching it. So, go to YouTube's live. It's Shabbat Night Live. All right, let's see what's going on here. All right. Hey, Brian. All right.
A lot of people saying they remember Noah being in a basket, not in an ark.
Yeah, it's a word for container. Let me see that. Where's that at? What verse was that? Reader's log.
So the beginning.
Yeah, it says ark. Let's see. She took him.
An ark of wicker.
Yep, an ark of wicker. And the wicker would be the flags, which is the gathering of reeds. So it would have been made of reeds, R-E-E, PS.
It also says Ark of Bulrushes in the King James Version. She took,
Does it?
yeah, and when she
Cool.
could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and daubed
That's
it with slime and pitch instead of
yeah.
well,
Yeah, we got to
slime and
stop
pitch.
using this word ark. It's just container. I mean, like, you remember Noah's Ark?
Mm-hmm.
It's Noah's container.
Right.
Okay. The Ark
Right.
of the Covenant, it's just where the covenant, the contract, is maintained in a container.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So this word ark, it throws us off because we don't use that in like everyday vernacular. It's like, oh, did you bring your ark to work today? No, it's my briefcase. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's not
Right.
anything specific. It's just a container. And there is a word for basket, which is tet, which they didn't use that. So it would have been obvious if that was an actual basket. So yeah, I can see it is. I mean, technically, it's a basket because it's made out of reeds, and they make this container out of reeds. But yeah, you know, you can remember that it was a basket because of like if you went to Sunday school, they would have even had a coloring picture of Moses in the basket, and they would have written basket, right? They wouldn't have written ark.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey Zulu, how you doing, brother? Doc Michael, Nikes, Sherry Ives, Daryl Davis, Roliar. Let's see who else? D Real, Angela, Robbie Turbo, Stephanie Martin, Aisling. What's up, Cammy? Jason Starr. All right, I think I got everybody. Hey, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Sorry it's so late.
Yeah. Shabbat Shalom.
I've had a crazy couple of weeks for the new year as well, so Noah's Tupperware. It's pretty funny. Yeah, and the pitching is like, you know, a tar or even boiled. They could boil. Think, Jack. Think. They could boil grapes down to even be a tar, to be like a waterproofing.
Grapes?
So, yep.
Huh.
They boil it down to this black sludge.
Hmm.
Yeah, Doc was blowing up my phone earlier, like, what happened to 11:11 Shabbat stream?
Yeah.
But yeah, I tried, guys. I did.
It's okay.
I mean,
It's all good.
I mean, if you can see like all those words on the screen, I put them there. I started with just the blue stuff, okay? So, and by the way, that hiding thing,
Mm-hmm.
every time I look at that word for hide, and like it always goes back to Polaris, you know, that treasured hidden place.
Oh, yeah.
That like, dude, that gets me like all the time. I really think there's something with it, but anyway, I don't want to get religious about it, make up a doctrine about it. But Noah's Ark had specific dimensions outlined in the scriptures. It was much larger than a briefcase, right? Yeah, definitely bigger than a briefcase. No, I'm just saying, like, you know, you could call a briefcase a container. It's like saying, you know, all briefcases are containers, but not all containers are briefcases, right?
Yeah.
It was the creator's briefcase.
You know
Oh,
what that makes
Awanas
me...
Club. Dude, Nyakus. Dude, I used to go to that. Every Christian denomination you can think of, I've been to. Okay, so I did used to go to a Christian church where they had Awanas, and I also used to go to an Assemblies of God where they had Royal Rangers. So if anybody's heard of that stuff. So yeah, I used to do all that kind of religious stuff. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Karen.
I don't know. I forget what I was going to say.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. It's like, oh, you know, I know what I was going to say. The creator's briefcase, and it's totally random, but it makes me think of that scene in Pulp Fiction when Jules opens the briefcase and it's glowing gold in his face, and he's like, Oh, it's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. I mean, I know it has nothing to do with it, but it just makes me think of that. When you think of like the creator's briefcase, that's the image that pops into my mind. Like you open this briefcase and it's like some glowing, glorious thing is coming out of it.
Or how about on Bruce Almighty when he opens the file cabinet of Bruce's whole life?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and it like pushes him way back.
And
You
it
know, to the
doesn't
other side of
stop.
the house. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of how his briefcase would be. It's like infinite. You know,
Yeah.
not all arcs are baskets, but some baskets are arcs.
Yeah. It's
All right,
funny.
we're getting crazy here.
It's funny, but my biggest takeaway is that Noah's or Moses's mother puts her child in this ark and to be found, and then somebody finds her. The Pharaoh's daughter finds him, and then she gets to be the wet nurse to her son. I mean, that's just trippy. That's trippy to me. I never
cool.
knew that. I never knew that little detail.
Yeah, it does. It kind of, you know, it makes you understand why later on when he sees like another Hebrew being beat, that he steps in, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had some kind of influence from his actual family. So he wasn't just with the mindset of the Mitzrites.
Right. He grew up among the Mitzrites, but
Right.
if he was still being raised by his Hebrew mother, surely in confidence and in private moments, she divulged to him the truth of what the reality is of how they got there and blah, 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 blah. And of course,
Exactly.
he had to have known.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like when you watch these movies, they will actually like mess up reading the scripture. Because like you could actually read the story again, like if we weren't going through it verse by verse like we're doing right now. Like you could just like glance over the story. Like let's say you're in a Christian family and you want to just read the story of Moses. Well, first you watch the movie and then you just read through the story and you don't actually pay attention to those details.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have the picture of the movie going on in your head. You know.
Yeah.
And it was like that for me. Like when I came out of, you know, religion, finding out the roots of my faith were actually based in paganism, child sacrifices, and rape orgies. And I didn't want to deal with that anymore. And I was going to throw away the Bible altogether. But then I was like, well, wait a second. Like, let's see what's comparable between the religion and the scriptures. And what I found out is there's no comparison. It's the same thing now when I watch movies that are based on scripture. I rather watch a rated R movie with a bunch of violence and filth florins and, you know, nonsense Scooby-Doo crap. Okay, not Scooby-Doo. I hate Scooby-Doo, but you get my point. Like,
right.
It could be the worst nonsense, and that bothers me, but it bothers me more with scripture-based movies. Those bother me more because it's like they're lying to you in those movies.
Yeah.
You know,
it's almost like it's more egregious.
it's like watching space. It's like me watching space, you know, movies now. It's like, you liars,
Yeah, like you're totally
pushing your propaganda.
You liars, you're trying to take my soul.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And that's the thing. If we can Hollywood up scriptures, then, you know, we think we already know what it says, but there's a lot more detail. Like I said, if you took the scriptures and used it as an actual script for a movie, you'd have a lot more information. You'd have an actual epic movie, you know?
Yeah.
I want to see the remake of when the sons of Yaakov ran into Dina's boyfriend and be like, hey, to join with us, you got to get circumcised, and you might as well get your whole family circumcised too. And the dude's like, yeah, let's do it. And then like they come in while they're all, you know, healing, and they come in and they destroy all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't they make a movie about that?
That's kind of dark, Jack.
It would be quite dark. Yeah, it wouldn't make for a very good story.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, you know, these people are people. They do stupid stuff just like all of us. Some of us, you know, all of us get selfish sometimes, you know.
Right.
But what makes you a good person is that you don't keep doing it, right? You you fix your crap and you move on.
Right. You learn from your mistakes and you become a better person.
Exactly.
Right. All right. Cool.
Alrighty.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of Anti-Religious Scripture Study, episode 39. We are in chapter 2 now. We are in Exodus. So join us again next. Well, actually, no, wait. I have to put a disclaimer. We will not be here next week because I'll be out of town.
All right.
So we are going to skip next week, and then we can either do a Sunday show or we could just come back the following weekend. But I won't.
I'll play it by ear. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So, so anyway, that's going on. We will either do a makeup show or a later show or whatever. We'll let you know. But after that, yeah, we're back on schedule. So thanks for being here, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Keep it flat. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Yom tov.
Yom tov.
And we will see you all again later.